This is a SnapEd New York video presentation.
Hi there, my name's Bianca. I'm a SNAP educator for the SNAP Education Program working for City Harvest. Today we're going to make a delicious sweet potato hash recipe. Everything you eat and drink matters. The right mix can keep you healthier now and in the future. Today we will learn how to incorporate vegetables into our diet, such as sweet potatoes. By the end of today's lesson, you will learn the health benefits of sweet potatoes and other vegetables, and how to make this easy, budget-friendly, delicious recipe.
My plate illustrates the 5 food groups that are the building blocks for a healthy diet. We see the 5 sections that make up my plate: fruits, vegetables, grains, proteins, and dairy. Sweet potatoes fall into the vegetable category. When looking at your own plate, make sure to vary your vegetables. It's important to incorporate a variety of vegetables since they provide necessary vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients that our bodies need to stay healthy. Eating a diet rich in vegetables and fruits may reduce the risk of heart disease and certain types of cancer. Aim to make half of your plate fruits and vegetables with a daily goal of at least 2.5 cups of vegetables a day for adults. Adding sweet potatoes to the plate can get you one step closer to reaching that goal.
Healthy eating patterns include a variety of different vegetables, such as different colors like dark green, red, orange, different types like legumes or starchy ones. Remember to vary your vegetables. Eat the colors of the rainbows. The different colors usually identify different nutrients that that particular vegetable has, such as our orange sweet potatoes that we're using today. Remember to eat as many different colors, vegetables as you can per day. All right, let's get started on our sweet potato hash recipe. First thing we're gonna do is go over our ingredients for today. So we'll be using sweet potatoes, about 2 to 3, depending on their size, 1 medium to large onion, flat leaf parsley, about a tablespoon of vegetable oil, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of black pepper. The first thing we're going to want to do before we start our recipe is make sure that our hands are nice and washed, along with washing both our sweet potatoes and our parsley. But remember, it's important to wash your onions as well. Even though you're cutting through the outside skin, we are still cutting through that skin, so we want to make sure the outside is washed as well. Let's get started on our onion first. So when you're picking your onion, you want to make sure that you look for onions that are not bruised and that they feel firm with their skin. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to cut off either side of our onion so we have a nice flat surface to work with, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut it in half and peel off our skin. If you're not going to use your entire onion, you can store it in your refrigerator in an airtight container for about 2 to 3 days. If you actually leave the skin on, the unused portion, it'll last a little bit longer and stay a little bit fresher. All right, we're gonna go ahead and dice it up, cutting through the middle and a couple of cuts down. Adding things like onion to our recipe will add a lot of flavor without adding increased calories. They also contain fiber and potassium. If you're not used to using onions, I would encourage you to try to incorporate them into your next dish. And you can try a variety of different onions. They have shallots and red onions, leeks, and even green onions can be a little bit milder in taste. Today we're using an electric skillet right here on the tabletop to cook our recipe. We've turned it on to a medium heat. You can also use a pan right on the stove top. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to add our vegetable oil to our pan, about a tablespoon. We're using a plant-based oil rather than something from an animal like butter or lard, because our plant-based oils contain unsaturated fat and not saturated fat. Our unsaturated fat are considered our healthy fats. Other oils would include sunflower oil, olive oil, canola oil. It's important to incorporate more healthy fats and a little bit less of those saturated fats. Saturated fats can lead to increased cholesterol, which could eventually lead to heart disease. Now that our pan is ready to go, let's go ahead and add in all of our onions. And you're going to hear that little bit of sizzle, and that's when you know that your oil is ready to go. Let's go ahead and give our onions a stir. And while those are cooking, we're going to wait until they turn golden brown before we remove them from the heat. And we're going to go ahead and move on to our sweet potatoes. Today we're using 2 to 3, and we're going to cut them in 3/4 of a dice. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's cut off either end to make a flat surface for ourselves. So today we're using sweet potatoes that are orange, but sweet potatoes flesh can come in white, purple, their skin can come in different colors. While selecting them, you want to make sure that you feel for smooth skin without any bruises or wrinkling or sprouting on them. You can store sweet potatoes in a cool, dark space. Avoid putting them in the refrigerator because they actually get harder in the middle of them. So you want to keep them outside the refrigerator, and they can last up to 1 month. Let's go ahead and dice these up. Being careful, keeping our fingers tucked in and the blade of our knife on the cutting board. And we are going to go ahead and dice up all of our sweet potatoes today.
Sweet potatoes are a root vegetable that are high in vitamin C, which is an antioxidant needed for the growth and repair of tissues in all parts of your body. Sweet potatoes are also high in vitamin A, which promotes good eyesight, helps form and maintain healthy teeth, skeletal and soft tissue, mucous membranes, and skin.
So we've got all of our sweet potato diced up. We're going to go ahead and remove our onions from the pan before we add in our sweet potatoes. They are nice and golden brown. They've kind of caramelized a little bit. They're a little bit translucent. That's when you know that they're ready. We've set our onions aside. Let's go ahead and add in all of our sweet potato to our pan. Sweet potato is a great root vegetable. Other root vegetables include things like carrots, parsnips, turnips. If you've noticed, I've left the skin on my sweet potato because the skin is super healthy. It's got tons of fiber in there and nutrients that are really good for us. I made sure that while I'm washing, I scrubbed that skin really well. This way there was no remaining dirt on it. If you prefer the skin off, that's also okay. So we're gonna let these sweet potatoes cook while we prepare the rest of our recipe. While our sweet potato is cooking, we've covered it with a top. Let's go ahead and move on to our flat leaf parsley. So we're gonna grab a couple of sprigs right off this stem. Adding fresh herbs is a great way to add lots of flavor to your dish. Herbs are a green leafy vegetable, which also increases your veggie intake. But by adding all of these different flavors, it allows us to decrease adding any added salt. Too much salt in our diet could add to high blood pressure. The recommendation is about 2,300 milligrams of sodium or less per day. And lots of other things that we consume throughout our day could include sodium. Processed foods, frozen fruits, canned items. Today we're adding about 2 tablespoons of parsley. If you don't have fresh available or you preferred, you could always use a dried herb. If you don't like parsley, you can try to incorporate something like basil or fresh oregano. Even some fresh thyme in this dish would be really delicious. You can do a combination of a bunch of different herbs, trying to add different flavors without adding too many more calories. All right, so our sweet potato is just about ready. A great way to check for readiness is by taking a fork and sticking it in a couple of sweet potatoes to check for the tenderness. Depending on your preference, if you prefer your sweet potatoes really soft or a little bit harder, that'll change how long you cook for. Let's go ahead and add in all of our fresh parsley. We're gonna add back in those onions. And then lastly, our seasoning. So we're only gonna add in a pinch of black pepper. If you like it spicier, you can add in crushed red pepper also. And then we're just gonna add in just a hint of salt, because remember, we flavored with parsley and those onions, so we don't need too much salt in here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna give that a stir. shut off our pan and just let our parsley wilt a little bit. You don't need to cook it too long, and our onions are already cooked. All right, guys, let's give this sweet potato hash brown a couple more stirs. Make sure everything is incorporated. Wow, this just looks gorgeous. Now that we've added some of that green parsley in here, our sweet potatoes have turned a little bit brown, gotten a little bit crispy. The fall time is a great time to enjoy sweet potatoes. That's when they're in season, so you'll find them at the best price, and they'll also be the tastiest. You can purchase them at local farmers markets or just your local grocery store. If they're not available during the time of the year that you'd like to cook them, you can always go for a frozen option or a canned option. Let's go ahead and serve this out. So today we're making about 4 servings of sweet potatoes, so it's a half a cup each. So I have my half a cup spoon. I'm gonna scoop out about a half a cup portion and put it right here on my plate. So we talked about this being budget friendly, so the cost of this entire recipe is $5.42 for 4 servings. So that's $1.35 per serving. Sweet potatoes are a wonderful vegetable that adds some variety into our diets. This sweet potato hash recipe would add towards your adult daily value of vegetable intake per day. The goal is 2.5 cups. So it's important to try to eat vegetables throughout the entire day instead of saving them for one meal. This hash brown recipe can make a great side to any dish. You can even complete the meal with adding a lean protein such as grilled chicken or eggs, or adding some low-fat or fat-free dairy like yogurt instead of sour cream or cream cheese. Healthy eating habits include adding low-fat or fat-free dairy to our daily intake. We can store this in the refrigerator in an airtight container for up to 5 days. Thanks so much for joining us today, guys. Remember, we learned about the 5 food groups that make up my plate, which are the building blocks for a healthy diet. We learned how to prepare a healthy side dish or a main dish using sweet potatoes, which is a delicious, healthy root vegetable. Remember that small changes can make a really big difference. Thanks so much for joining, guys. Hope to see you next time.
Thank you for joining us today. We know the healthy choice isn't always the easiest choice, but small changes can make a big difference. Start today by getting involved with SNAP Ed New York. This program is free for those who qualify or receive SNAP benefits. We want to help you save time, save money, and eat healthy. Learn how SNAP Ed can make a difference in your life. For more information and to find your local program, visit snapedny.org. This material is funded by USDA's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. SNAP. This institution is an equal opportunity provider.